Listen to the cannons fire across Lake Champlain. Stroll in the gardens visited by presidents. Walk in the footsteps of those whose struggles brought forth a new nation. One can do all of these things today because of the unwavering efforts of a family with a history dating back to the earliest days of New York. In 1654, Thomas Pell, an English doctor from Connecticut, acquired a large tract of land in what is now the Bronx and Lower Westchester. King Charles II chartered the Manor of Pelham in 1666, and Thomas Pell was named First Lord of the manor. Accordingly, when hostilities broke out between the English and the colonists a century later, the Pells remained loyal to the crown. The Bartow Pell mansion, which had been home to 4 generations of Pells, was burned, and the family sought refuge in Canada. A generation later, William Ferris Pell had built a thriving business in New York City and had family in Canada and Burlington, Vermont. On frequent steamship voyages to and from New York City via Lake Champlain and the Hudson River, the hulking ruins of Fort Ticonderoga haunted him. Fort Ticonderoga was situated over a narrow point where the waters from Lake George entered Lake Champlain. Control of this strategic narrows meant control of the north-south water highway created by the lakes and the Hudson River. First fortified by the French, the flag of England waved over the bastions in the early morning hours of May 10, 1775. Benedict Arnold, Ethan Allen, and the Green Mountain Boys swept across Lake Champlain and seized the sleeping garrison in an early American victory in the Revolutionary War. Following the American victory at Saratoga, the fort was abandoned and fell into disrepair. In 1820, Pell purchased the ruins of the fort and the surrounding garrison grounds to preserve for posterity. This acquisition launched an epic effort with the very existence of this unique historic resource at stake. In 1826, Pell built Beaumont, his classic revival summer home on the grounds of Fort Ticonderoga, which was converted into the Pavilion Hotel in 1840 to serve the growing number of tourists who were arriving by steamship via Lake Champlain to visit the fort ruins. 1908 saw another generation of the Pell family, Stephen and Sarah Thompson Pell, begin restoration of Fort Ticonderoga. Under the guidance of English architect Alfred C. Bossum, a grandson of William Ferris Pell, they began to restore the fort and the pavilion. They recreated the former garrison garden, which they named Le Jardin du Roi, or King's Garden, as it was known under the French. The fort was opened in 1909 with President William H. Taft in attendance. In 1920, Sarah Pell engaged one of the first landscape architects in the country, Marion Kruger Coffin, to simplify and expand Bossum's garden plan. The magnificent restoration of the King's Garden earned a statewide award of excellence in historic preservation from the Preservation League in 2003. As the fort begins its second century as a museum, a reconstruction of the Magasin du Roi, the King's Warehouse, was recently completed to house the fort's educational program. The 3,800 acres surrounding the fort complex is also considered a historic jewel, and as such is protected by the Fort Ticonderoga Association. For generations, descendants of William Ferris Pell have been steadfast defenders of Fort Ticonderoga. They have given generations of New Yorkers, Americans, and international visitors, some 90,000 each year, the chance to experience Fort Ticonderoga and relive the role it played in world history. For their efforts to protect this historic place, we recognize the Pell family as a pillar of New York.